Hi, Abby. Thank you so much for joining us. I am so excited to hear your story, and I think it'd be awesome if you just started out by telling us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I am currently a student at Emmanuel Bible College. I am studying youth and family ministries and vulnerable population studies.
Wow.
And along with that, I am doing some volunteering with the Sanguine Health Center in Waterloo and leading our Love KW ministry here at church with Joshua.
Wow, so you're busy.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I would just love to know how you came to know Jesus.
Yeah, so I grew up in a household that was Christian. Both my parents were Christian, but they came from very different backgrounds. So it was always like very different conversations with both my parents. So I had a lot of growing through my childhood and teenage years, and I just found it hard to understand what Jesus meant to me.
Right.
It was just, when I was 12, I got diagnosed with Tourette syndrome, which like when you're 12 years old, that's like identity shattering.
Wow.
So in my mind, I was like, why would I be made with this like thing that just impedes every part of my life? It kind of set me into a bit of like identity crisis and who am I and how does like this fit in with my identity with Jesus and how does this all work together? Because I didn't understand how that could fit if God creates us perfectly.
Right.
So that began a long journey with that. And because of that, like it was hard for me to understand that Jesus was love and that's where I found love. And so I began to try to find that love and acceptance anywhere I could because like my peers thought I was weird, making sounds and movements all the time. So it was hard to make real relationships with people. So it was hard to find what love and acceptance was because I wasn't necessarily going to Jesus first. And so I was very broken and very sad and searching for that in the wrong places. And it ended up in some like not great situations, like I experienced before coming like to Kitchener and stuff, like a lot of just like abuse and manipulation and a lot of just really unfortunate situations. And when I moved to Kitchener, it kind of began more of my journey of healing and what it actually means to like surrender everything to Jesus.
Wow. So you talk about just that surrender and your identity and understanding God's love. When did you find that? What was it for you that kind of showed you God's love and his character?
It honestly took until my second year of Bible college to really recognize the amount of brokenness and trauma that I had experienced and how much healing I needed, and actually truly believe that that healing can only come from Jesus. And it took me until that point to realize that. And when I did realize that, everything began to hit me at once. And my grades began to suffer, my mental health began to suffer, and it just brought me to this place of absolute like brokenness. And I realized that I was still trying to put other things before God.
Wow.
In trying to fill that void of like feeling loved and accepted and being like a good person in like society standards, trying to like volunteering and helping other people. Sorry. And it was just a lot of that. And so when I got to that point in my second year, I began to realize this. And so I came to the decision to take a year off of school. And that year was just my year of healing and pursuing Jesus. And that was the only thing that I had a plan for. I did not have a job. I did not have anything lined up. All I knew was that I was working on my relationship with Jesus first and that he was going to provide. And so he brought so much absolute healing from trauma, from everything, and began to show me what my identity really is in Jesus, and began to really show me like what my calling is in life and where I am called to work and function as a member of the church. And he began opening doors in like field for me to work with, an opportunity for jobs and getting like crazy experience in things I never would have. Like I spent a couple weeks working in construction, like just really cool opportunities. And it was honestly a year of realizing that God is faithful because there were times where I was unemployed and I did not know where rent was going to come from, or I didn't know where groceries were going to come from. And God would just always provide, and he was always faithful, and he never ever failed because of the sacrifice I was making to really just pursue him. And I was surrendering everything, my security, my comfort, everything to pursue him. And he never like failed. I was never in a situation where I wasn't able to financially support myself, and I formed friendships that were the most supportive thing I could ever find in the world. Like I have a family here now. Like he came through in every aspect I was searching for, in every other way to find it. And the moment that I really surrendered everything to him, all of those things came, and he brought all of those things that I was desiring from such a young age. And like, that was the best decision I ever made. And like, I do not regret a second of like that year.
That's amazing. Wow, yeah, community can be so integral in our walk with Jesus, and it's just so cool to hear you talk so passionately about God's just favor and his sovereignty over our lives. And now you're leading our Love KW outreach, which is so amazing. It's just the passion you have really transfers into everything you do, which is awesome. I would just love to know what God's doing in your life now.
Yeah, so right now, kind of, I guess, a lesson that I've learned in this season is like God's really humbled me and convicted me in my mindset towards people, like the way that I think. Because I was always so sure, like, yes, I'm such a gracious person. Like, I always, like, you know, give the best thoughts and opportunities to everyone. Because, like, I work with people who experience addiction and homelessness, and I'm always the first person to advocate, like, just because you're experiencing something like that doesn't make you less human.
Right.
And so I always was of this mindset of, yes, like, I am always gracious, and I never, you know, like, think of other human beings as less than human. But God's really convicted me in that. And yes, you think that way about, like, people like you or people that are less than you, but people that are, like, more entitled or have, like, a lot in life to live for are the people that I get very frustrated with. Right. And I've noticed how, like, frustrated or angry or the way that I think towards them is not what Jesus would think. Because they're also, like, perfectly created by God and his children, and he loves them as well, but that's not always necessarily my first response.
Right.
And so that's kind of what God's been, like, convicting me in and humbling me in this season, and working on that, and trying to balance that with, you know, working in the world that I do. And it's hard to do that because you hear how hurt people are by a lot of, like, business people or family that are well off, and it's difficult, and it really pushes me to rely on Jesus and to pray through that and to ask for help and patience and grace to people, so that that's not the way I think about people. Because if I think about that and I don't nip that right away, that's going to flow through my actions, and my words are going to become negative, and my actions are going to become negative as well. So that's been something that I've been working through and learning currently.
That is definitely something to navigate, and your perspective on it all is so refreshing. I just want to thank you so much, Abby, for sharing even just a part of your story. It was an honor to listen, and I'm just so glad to have shared this time with you.
Thank you.